One of the hardest things I had to learn as an artist wasn't learning how to paint. It was letting go of the fear of being perceived. For a very long time, I always thought about how people saw me, what they would think of me, how they saw my work as an artist. Something shifted in me and it made me realize that I needed to let go. I needed to stop letting people control the way I see me. I already know this is gonna be an extremely vulnerable video. But the more I think about it as an artist, I need to allow myself to be vulnerable. That is how I create my work. That is the only way I am actually able to create because I am an abstract expressionist. And part of expression is allowing yourself to feel things that other people might suppress, other people might be afraid of. So today, I am going to share something that is nowhere to be found on the internet about myself. And hopefully it helps whoever is watching this video that may be struggling with it as well, to know that they can conquer it and they can hold that captive and take control of their life and not allow it to control them. I struggle with PMDD. What is PMDD? A lot of people don't even know what that terminology is, but I could Google it. Actually, let me Google it and give you a description of what PMDD is. Okay, so I pulled it up on Google and it says PMDD is premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and it is a severe psychiatric disorder recognized by DSM-5 and ICD-11, affecting 3% to 8% of women of reproductive age. So it was officially categorized as a psychiatric disorder. It's a mood disorder, partially caused by a medical problem, which is people who have PMDD is mostly affected during their luteal phase. So that week before their period is when all the effects of PMDD takes effect. And I know people might think, okay, isn't that like normal PMS? But it's more PMS on steroids. So think of PMS times 100. The best way I could explain this is there is sadness, there's intense sadness, and then there's dysphoria. Happiness, intense happiness, euphoria. So we're on both ends of the spectrum where we feel extreme happiness, euphoria, and extreme sadness, which is dysphoria. Thankfully, I don't feel the effects as I once used to, and that is mainly because I've done a lot of internal work and I actually have never went on medication. When I was first diagnosed, they wanted it, well, the clinicologist, the psychiatrist wanted to give me a bunch of medication, and I hate medication. So I was like, I'm not gonna do this. So I decided to go down the herbal route, and that has actually been helping me a lot. Combine that with internal work and reframing my thoughts is literally what helped me. And I'll get to how art played a huge role in helping me heal my PMDD. If you feel like you have intense cramps and your flow is like abnormal, you're very depressive, and you're seeing all these signs, I would say go and actually check it out. Back to what I was saying about being perceived and the fear of being perceived. When I was going through a very terrible patch in my life, which I don't know if I might actually talk about it in the future on here, I may or may not. The only people in my life that knew I was struggling very badly with PMDD was my husband and my close relatives. And that is what I am trying to say. You never know what somebody is going through. You never know the quiet that they carry, which is why I did this entire exhibition, The Quiet You Carry, because I want to use my art as a way for people to tell their story without telling their story. They are able to connect with the art and feel, allow themselves to process their emotions. Because if you don't process those emotions, it gets worse over time. It literally catches up with you. You could say, yeah, it's nothing, I'll deal with that later. But no, it doesn't work like that. You need to deal with it now. When I was going through that very bad time in my life, I closed my eyes and I prayed. And I took what happened next as confirmation. When I opened my eyes, I looked to the left of my room. I could still remember it because it still feels like just yesterday. But I looked at the left of my room and I saw paint and I saw my foam board, because at that point I wasn't using canvases, I was just using like a foam board. And I know it was God's voice because at that point I completely surrendered to Him. And I let go of everything that was holding me back. All the negative thoughts was gone, like instantly. I instantly felt lighter. And something told me paint. And at that point, I haven't painted in years. I took that paint and that foam board and I laid it all on the ground and I started painting like a crazy lady. So everything was just poured onto that canvas. At that point, I didn't realize what I was doing. And it was only like probably 3 months later when I actually sat down and I reflected. During that time when I just kept painting, all my PMDD symptoms slowly started fading away. But I have to mention as well that I was more spiritual. And slowly but surely, I became a better version of myself. And I feel like I unintentionally but intentionally destroyed that older version of myself. And she's no longer there. Some of my work comes from places that I don't even know where it comes from, because I paint emotions that I simply can't process. And painting has been a huge form of therapy for me. Those people who say that painting cannot be a form of therapy, I'm telling you, they have not actually really tried it out for themselves. Because if you have tried it out for yourself, you will know that it makes a huge difference in your life, but you need to give it a chance. I think I actually forgot to mention something, and this is going to act as a huge disclaimer. If you are suffering from some form of mental disorder, that is not an excuse to treat people in your life poorly and badly. If you realize that it's actually affecting every part of your life, you need to actually go and get treated. Go and actually check to see what is happening, why the medication may not be working, and look for alternatives. Because that is not an excuse to be, I'll leave it. So this year, I am going to make it a goal to conquer my fear of being seen by others. Because for far too long, I've allowed that to control my life, and if I don't stop now, it's going to affect my work as an artist. And I don't care what I have to do to keep continuing my journey of abstract expressionism, because it has saved me. And I want others to also experience my art, because it also could be a form of therapy for you. Even if you're not creating, just by looking at it does a lot. There is a study done. I don't want to pull it up because that's too much to do right now, but there is a study done, you guys could actually research it, where looking at a piece of art could reduce your depression and it could elevate your mood by a lot. So even if you don't want to paint or you feel like you can't paint, just support it. It doesn't even have to be me. Just supporting another artist, a local artist especially, and purchasing one of their painting and keeping it in your home helps you and it helps the artist. Thank you guys so much again for joining our little corner of Abstract World. I have something extremely exciting that I have been working tirelessly on, which is my website, and it will be launched within 1 to 2 days, so you guys would actually be able to view and purchase my work and join the community. Have a great one. Bye.